like you said, especially with a lot of these car dealers, hey,
yeah,
come on down, this is Joe. I've been up all night trying to make deals for these cars, and I'm glad you come by. And I'm like, oh yeah, right.
And then you think, you know what, the public, how are they gonna believe me when none of this is believable?
yes. Because you ain't been up all night, Joe. I can see that.
None of these people know what I need for a vehicle. They're just trying to get me to the car lot. Anyway, good to have you guys here. This is episode number 3 of the Hope channel.
Loving every minute of it, too.
Yeah, man. And we've made some changes since the first scenario, which is better. I mean, I'm at the age now to where I want to simplify my life as much as I can.
Hey, don't it make it beautiful?
Exactly.
It makes it very beautiful.
What's the saying? My dad always tell me this. He always said, son, don't let everybody know everything you can do because they're going to expect more of you.
Yeah.
So I've learned, sometimes I might just need to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, well, sneak up on it a little bit, you'll be good to go, man.
And volunteer myself when I can, when it makes sense, and then stay out of the equation when it doesn't.
Well, Jerry and I, being old military guys, we know about that volunteering thing.
Oh, yeah. And we got Jerry Bradley here on my right, on y'all's left. And Jerry, how long you been in Fayetteville?
We moved into our house in 2010, and I got here probably about 5 years before that. So
you're not a native.
No.
Here, I got you. So you're definitely here because of the military.
Yeah, actually, what had happened was I was a group superintendent at Bolling Air Force Base in Washington D.C. And a security, which was my career field. I came from security forces. The security forces chief position opened up.
Gotcha.
And it's if you understand anything about the military, it's kind of like a command sergeant major position. So you're stepping back and stepping down. I had a lot of people give me a hard time about that. But the big reason is my daughter, who's in Intel, is stationed at Fort Bragg. Her husband is civil affairs. Well, he is now. He went from Schofield Barracks Station at Fort Bragg, and my son was stationed at Seymour Johnson. So you don't get many opportunities to get a whole military family in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, same region like that. That's comfortable. That's a comfortable fit.
And so Laura and I said, well, we're going to come here, and then I can retire out of here, and we'll stick around for as long as the kids are. My daughter is getting ready to retire next January at 20.
Wow.
And she spent all but one tour. Her first tour was in Germany, and she spent the whole career here at Fort Bragg.
Wow.
She was planted here and stayed here.
Yes, she did. She came here with her husband, and they got a joint assignment here, and he's retired. She's getting ready to retire. My wife has helped them a lot. So there was a lot of things where, as we were going through the military, you had to depend on other spouses. You get stationed somewhere, there's no family there. But my children have been fortunate to be able to call and say, hey, Javery's sick, can you babysit? Or we have to pull them out of school because the military, you've got to go to work. Now, my son, on the other hand, which I said was at Seymour Johnson, he's in the Air Force. He's done a tour at England, and now he's back at Langley Air Force Base. And he might sit there for 3 or 4 years, and he'll be sent somewhere else.
That's what I noticed, Neil, with a lot of people I meet at the coffee scene. I mean, even the young women that are there working, every time I talk to somebody, it's like, well, we're only going to be here a short time, or we're trying to sell our house, or we just, we're having to pack and get ready to move out again. So it seems like that's a pretty good normal scenario.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so it's, to me, if you're going to be in the military, it's almost, it really lines up with being in a ministry. I mean, because not only have you got you're looking at the people you're trying to protect, but you're also saying, I'm going to do this wherever I have to do it.
Yeah,
So it's a different mindset.
As I understood it when I came in, it was, and that was back in the 70s. It was a need to where you needed to be. So you would make a lot of suggestions on, of course, places you'd like to go, and the chances where you could get there. But wherever the need was, like, heck, man, I tried to get over to Europe real quick. I was into a MAC unit, and the first thing that I tried to get back to Pope, first place they sent me was Dover. So, so you know, it was close enough, but it just wasn't exactly what I particularly wanted.
Well, I do run into it a lot too. The reason they joined and the reason they became part of the military is their number one goal was protect their family, protect the Americans, protect their livelihood, protect their way of life. That was the number one reason. It wasn't because of the other benefits and all that were great, but their purpose was, I want to keep this lifestyle going. I want my kids and my grandkids to be able to enjoy what I have. And so there's a lot of that here because, man, I've got, like I was telling you earlier, I got some Special Forces buddies that are just, you wouldn't think they would kill a mosquito on their arm. But then when you know what they do for a living.
Oh, yeah. Best,
it's like, wow.
It's best not everybody know. I need to know
Bingo.
basis.
Yeah. But to me, that was an eye-opening experience for me when I was, meeting these guys because I thought, wow, your heart's got to be in the right place in order to be able to do that, accomplish those things, and then have be doing it for the greater good. It's not just I want a job to go blow up stuff and shoot guns. It's that's part of it, but the main focus was I'm capable and gonna learn how to be more capable in helping society.
I think a lot of it depends on what is going on at the time. That patriotism kind of gets ingrained into you a little bit more. On the other side of the coin, after 9/11, we had a huge rush of people wanting to join the military.
Wow.
Because they wanted to do their part.
Yes.
They wanted to step up. They wanted to, where, quite frankly, a lot of them probably would have never thought twice about it.
Right.
I mean, we had football players and, all kind of people that were saying, no, I'm going to go into the military. So a lot of it's based on what's going on and where the push is at. And what's going on in society. Right now, jobs are good, recruitment's down. They're still hitting, we're still bringing people in. But you also go through ebbs and fluxes in the military.
Yes, it's just like,
we'll get a build-up, and then the next Congress that comes along says we don't need that many people. We'll bring the force smaller. Over the 30 years, I watched the force grow and reduce and grow and reduce. And one of the problems the Army was having for a while, especially within the infantry corps, is that we were wearing people out. I mean, we were doing it in all branches of service, but we were wearing people out because I'll give you my daughter hates it when I talk about her family, but out of the first 5 years of their marriage, he was gone more than he was home. His first deployment was a year. His second one was 18 months. And he'd come back. And when you're back, you're not back. You're catching up on all the training and everything you've got to do.
You're probably trying to relax as much as you can.
And he'd come home long enough to get her pregnant. And he'd go again. But the NCOs were getting tired. They were getting wore out. And it's a lot. And I'm not talking about just a lot of work. I mean, when you're deploying and you lose people,
I'm sure. Yeah,
I went through a reboot class with a master sergeant, and in the Army, and he had that feeling that his whole job is to deploy with his people and to keep them safe, and he was bound and determined he was going to bring everyone home that went with him. And that didn't happen.
I'm sure.
And it took a toll on him because he took on the responsibility. What could I have done differently? Surely there was something we could have done different that we wouldn't have lost that person. And the answer is there was nothing.
Well, and reality set in too that he wasn't Superman.
Yeah, absolutely. As young NCOs, part of what you do, non-commissioned officers, part of what you do is during the holidays and stuff, you bring the single soldiers over to your house and you do different things. And I remember Bethany had talked to my wife and said, "Hey, can you help me out? You know, I'm doing a Thanksgiving dinner for a bunch of people." And, oh, by the way, I've never done Thanksgiving dinner, you know, other than helping you out, Mom.
Yeah.
So we went over there and hung out and, you know, drinking beer, watching football, and they're cooking food and everything's going on. A bunch of people over at the house, all
I'm gonna
having a
move
good
this
time.
down and move it towards you.
Okay.
There we go.
And right after that, they deployed.
Yeah.
So they didn't come back for 18 months. So that next Thanksgiving, they bypassed. You know, they were still deployed. It was the following Thanksgiving, went to my son-in-law and asked him and said, "Hey, would you like to do that again?" And he said, "Honey, there's not a one of them that was at our house that's still here.
Oh, wow.
They were either gotten killed, gotten injured, or they got out."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, but you bring a good point into that, Jerry, the support factor. And I was thinking one of the things knowing Jerry for so long has been the fact that even in his work, he has always been very much involved with not just the troops or the personnel itself, but the people behind the personnel. I've always noticed he talks about the wives, the children, and all of those things. And that was one of the things I always understood. And, of course, both of us being law enforcement specialists in the Air Force at that time, you know.
And how long y'all known each other?
Oh, man. I met Jerry, had to be like 2000, close to it.
About 2006.
Yeah.
Where did y'all meet at?
Yeah.
We met at the coffee scene, but
How
I
about
got
that?
I
Music.
got told about Neil by Joe Haymore.
Yes.
And Neil used to be part of a writers group that I joined, the Writers Inc. Guild. And Joe says, "Hey, you need to go see this guy. You know, your poetry has a lot of similarities." And I was just really starting then. So we met each other, but we didn't really know each other. When I came back 2007, when I was medevac from deployment, you know, I had met Neil, but we didn't know him.
Right, gotcha.
And probably more like 2000, and I went to the Writers Inc. Guild, but then I just fell off. You know, I didn't think about the Guild. But when I came back and I was injured, and I was struggling with a lot of things, I really turned toward writing a lot. And I knew that Neil was prior military.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm a chief, and I'm with security forces. And, I'm still in the Air Force now.
Yeah.
We're doing the medical evaluations and all that stuff, but I'm not letting anybody know that I'm supposed to be the bad part,
Gotcha.
you know, and that I write poetry, you know. And so I really turned toward that as an outlet and a relief. And so then I didn't want to share that with everybody, so I started seeking out Neil and said, "What do you think of this?" And
Testing the waters.
yeah, and what do you think? You know, is this too dark? Is this too, you know? And he'd give me suggestions and stuff.
Isn't that amazing, though, how music and creativity and all that brings people together? And people you wouldn't even think about. You know, here you are, two military guys, and you didn't meet that way. You met through creativity and through music.
True, true. But I think, you know, with me and Jerry, of course, when I found out he was a chief and like in the Air Force and law enforcement, of course, with me, I immediately went back to my Dover days.
Sure.
And so it was automatic, and I was like, okay, cool, I can relate to this.
That's awesome.
It makes a beautiful thing happen, man. And so, he's one of those guys that over the years, he was he would show me a lot of his work. And the thing about his work, and he'd say, would this be too dark, anything? And I recognized that in the community and the poetry we were presenting at that time, basically the only thing we wanted was good poetry, and it was good poetry.
Sure.
It was well-written
right.
stuff, you know, and it didn't have, you know, it was still family-related as far as certain things, because what he was writing about was just things that related to families.
Bingo.
And especially, and I just admired the way he took on the responsibility of not letting us forget about the spouse and the children. And for me, that was a very important aspect of it, and I really appreciated him for that. If that was anything, I said, my chief master, okay, cool. Really caring about, I like this.
Well, one thing, too, that I noticed, especially at your thing at the coffee scene, you know, going time and time again, so many people, even the young kids, and man, sometimes it just breaks my heart. I mean, when I'm sitting there watching them and then listening to what they took the time to write out on a piece of paper and listen to their thoughts that's in their head, it will almost bring you to tears when you think of that being a 15, 16, 17-year-old, and you're thinking, why are they even being able to write this on a piece of paper? Why are they going through this kind of stuff? So that is therapy for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's horrible that they're going through it, but at least now they got a way to get a little bit out of their system and share that, and then that brings other people to the scenario. You know, they get to relate. So you never really know, just like me and you was talking about, you never really know what's going through somebody's mind, you know, at that moment. They may be putting on a smile and getting through it, but when they're alone, on their couch, in their room, what are they thinking? You know, where's their mind? You know, how are they? Do they feel like they're alone? Do they feel like they have anybody they can turn to? Do they feel like they have any real friends? That's why I think it's our responsibility to be a friend to as many people as we can.
Oh, very much so.
Hey, my friends, Trae Edwards here. Hey, and I want to ask you people a personal favor. The next time that you're shopping for an automobile, please come check out my friends here at Bleecker Automotive in Dunn, North Carolina. I promise you, they're going to make you happy, and they're going to make you the happiest by putting you in the vehicle that fits your needs. And by fulfilling those needs, you're going to come back time and time again. I can promise you that. They're great people. You'll love working with them. Come see my friends here at Bleecker Automotive in Dunn, North Carolina. Thank you.